correlates and other units where we would be discussing in detail the muscular and nervous tissue. So this is more of an overview for Unit 2. And then, so it's more of structural when we discuss. And of course, there will be a bit of functions and significance and locations that we will be discussing. But concentrate more on that before, but during the muscular and nervous tissue topics in future units, that's when we will be discussing them in detail. So more of just an overview for this morning. So this is also an orientation for you before you do your histo lab on these topics. So let's start with the adipose tissue, which we already discussed in previous last week. So this is more of a review. Remember this table where we differentiated the white and the brown adipose tissue. So just remember that how you differentiate the two tissues in terms of their distribution, color, vascularity, metabolic activity. So know the difference between the two. And then remember this again, where we showed you an illustration, so you wouldn't have a difficulty in comparing the two. So you can see the unilocular white adipose compared to the multilocular round tissue. Remember that? Then we mentioned that the nucleus is more at the center. This one would have a signet ring appearance. Okay. So I'm just showing you one slide since we showed several slides previously. So the white adipose compared to the brown adipose tissue. So remember that the brown is highly vascularized. And then you can actually see some alveolar tissue around the cells. This one I didn't show you in the previous discussion, but if you go through if you're having a difficulty in how deep you will be reviewing for these tissues that we will be discussing today, use your learning objective as your guide, because we would be getting the questions, we would be discussing based on what we have on the learning objectives. So use that as your guide on what you're gonna read, topics that you have to know. So if you saw your learning objective, it was written there about the molecules synthesized and secreted by the adipose tissue and the functions. So basically this is a summary of it. So know the important ones. So what do you think are the important ones? Everything? Okay, you have to go through them, but some of them are more familiar than others, especially in your the subsequent years. You'll be discussing more. For example, the angiotensins, the interleukins, insulin growth factors, leptins, plasminogen activator inhibitor, tumor necrosis factors. Those are things that would come, prostaglandins. They would be discussed in future topics and even the subsequent years in med school. So those are things that you have to remember, although you have to go through all of them to just familiarize. So we'll not dwell much on the adipose tissue. So muscular tissue. So again, we have a summary table in your book. You can see the three muscle types, the skeletal, cardiac, and smooth muscle are being compared side by side. If you can see take note of the location, of course, how the cells or muscle fibers will differ from one another. So how do you differentiate them? Remember that there is connective tissue, so we'll show you later on the pictures and then we'll point out the connective tissues around them. So know the difference in the appearance of the fibers, the muscle fibers. So you can see here a single muscle cell, but you would see many and peripherally located nucleus. You would have the cardiac, which are branched. Here it's written here. And then, although they're single nucleus, and usually it's found in the middle. Like the smooth muscle is also found in the middle, central, and it's also single. What else do you have to know here? Note about the cell-to-cell junctions. So you have intercalated discs, which would help you even in your practicals. If you're able to appreciate this, you would know that you're already looking at the cardiac tissue. And then the gap junctions for the smooth muscle. And then what else do you have to know? Know which one is voluntary and involuntary, of course. And then the type of contraction, although we won't be dealing too much in detail with this today, maybe in your fissure correlate and when we'll be discussing the musculoskeletal system itself. And then, but we will just know one is all or none, and then how do they contract. We'll be showing you how later in the smooth muscle also. And then what else? About regeneration, so cardiac muscle, very minimal, none. Then limited for the skeletal present in smooth muscle. So just go through this table. Lots of information could be gathered from this table alone. So our first slide. So what is this? Skeletal muscle. So you can see at various orientations. So some are longitudinal, some are in cross section. But why do you say it's skeletal muscle? Very good, I can hear the answer. The nucleus is located in the periphery. Remember, the smooth and the cardiac, both of them are centrally located. But for this, if you can see in both the longitudinal and cross section, all of them are peripherally located. So that alone is a clue already that you're looking at the skeletal muscle, although maybe you cannot appreciate much the striations in this slide, but knowing that it's the only muscle that you can find with a nucleus at the periphery, that's already a clue to you. So there are also multiple nuclei. So if you can see one fiber, here for example, one fiber, you can see three. So there are multiple nuclei. And in the cross sections, you can see that they are in the periphery. So closer view. So now you can appreciate the striations, right? So you can see the light and the dark bands. So the light bands and the dark bands, and then the peripherally located nucleus there. So this is one fiber, another fiber. And then if you can see also that it's just one full fiber, there's no branching that you could appreciate. And you cannot also see any cell-to-cell junction at this point. So it's just one straight fiber, and then peripherally located with striations. So you're looking at the skeletal muscle. At the cross-section, so they're polygonal, so you can see, but the nuclei are all peripherally located. I have another picture here. So this is still the skeletal muscle. If you can see in one fiber, what can you see? There are several myofibrils. So, and then in each myofibril, you'll see myofilaments. So that's just a clear view. Actually, in your book, this was also shown. Another picture was shown, but similar in appearance. So you can appreciate the dark and lighter staining. Why do we have the light and darker staining fibers? This could be explained because of the type of fiber. Yes, I can hear it also in the audio. So we have the different fibers. So we have the type 2B, which is the lighter staining. This one's in your book, huh? And then we have the darker staining, type 1. Okay. You can see the fibers actually the type 1 clearer than the, but you can see there's some fibers as well. Fibrils. So know the different fibers. So differentiate the type 1 from type 2B from type 2A. So know about their oxidative activity, which one is anaerobic, highly anaerobic activity is involved, or just know the difference. How do they, which one is fatigue prone, which is fatigue resistant, know which is, which would be involved in slow movement and fast twitches. So know those kinds of things, okay? So I'll not go in detail on that, but just know which fiber is involved in which. So this is an illustration. Again, I told you if you have a difficulty in appreciating the actual slide or actual pictures that they are being shown in your books, look first at the illustration because that's the idea. So what can you see in this picture? So there are several, in one muscle fiber, there are several myofibrils. And then several muscle fibers will compose one muscle fascicle. And then several muscle fascicles rallying of your muscle. So for you to, those are delineated by connective tissue. So what do you call the connective tissue surrounding? Let's start first from the very beginning. So around the muscle fiber, the mesoneum. And then around mesoneum, so meaning muscle. Don't confuse that later with our epineurium and the neurium and perineurium. So around endometrium, then around your fascicle, around the whole muscle. Okay, very good. So know those three enough. Then what they are covering, and then what will compose which. So that's basically what this slide is showing you. The actual. So let's now go to the actual one. So what do you call? I think the. Okay, let's go with this because this one's clearer. Now let's start first with the beginning. So here, sorry. So you can see here. So one. So there's endometrium, the perimetrium, it's bigger, between the fascicles, and then around the whole thing, epimetrium. So know the difference, okay? And then if you can see there are vessels in between. So because we know that it is vascularized, remember? Another picture showing you the connective tissue around them. I'm just showing you this because it was not so clear earlier regarding the endometrium. So you can see here, there's really no space, but this is more of a artifact that somehow it's detached. But you are able to appreciate that there is a connective tissue around this. So it's all endometrium because it wasn't so clear in the previous slide, right? And then the perimetrium, of course, if you can, I don't know if you can appreciate it. The one fascicle here, another fascicle here, another fascicle here, this is another one, and this is another one. So around this one, the connective tissue here is the perimetrium. The epimetrium is not so, it's not being demonstrated in this slide. Are you able to appreciate the fascicles? So the skeletal muscle, again, remember the striations. Let's just go back to the longitudinal view since you will be able to see the striations from this view. What can you see? So peripherally located, nuclei, remember. This one is there's an F. It's a fibroblast, so you know that there is connective tissue in between them, right? So this is the nuclei of the fiber itself. This is the fibroblast. So you can see that it's, this one is plumper or lighter and also in staining compared to your fibroblast. They're just thinner. Yeah, your darker staining compared to your nucleus muscle fiber. And then you can see the dark and light bands. So what do you call the, oh, there's an A here. So it's pointing to the darker band. Okay, so it's your A band. The I pointing to the lighter one is the light. So again, let's look at the illustration. So we discussed this earlier. Then I mentioned that after the myofibrils, you will also see the myofilaments. So now let's talk about the myofilaments, the actin and the myosin. So this is an ultrastructure of the myofibril of the striated muscle. So the thin would be composed of the actin, and then the thick one, myofilament, is composed of the myosin. So this is one sarcomere. Why do we say it's one sarcomere? It's between the two Z lines. Okay. So remember the thick A band, light I band. What's up in the middle? The Z line. So one Z line to another Z line is one sarcomere. What is dividing the A? H band first. Then there's a small line in the middle of the H band, which is the F line. So just know. So this one actually is just showing you if we cut from this side, how do you look at it? It's mostly composed of your I band, just here. And then if you cut it from this side, you're just looking at the H band. Then at the M, you can see the internal connections, and then here it's overlapping the thin and thick, so that's why you have this. Okay, that's just the one that's being shown there. This one actually, you can also appreciate here, um, a muscle that is stretched, a sarcomere that's stretched is resting in the contracted sarcomere. So if you can see here, just note the A band does not change. The diameter does not change, whether it is stretched, resting, or contracted. Then just know the relation between each other at these certain states of contraction. So the other one was a representation of the sarcomere. So this is a closer view of the sarcomere. This is also in your book. So it's more detailed, but you can still appreciate your myosin, then your actin is somewhere there, here. And then you can see that one Z line to one Z line is the sarcomere. The whole span of your myosin would comprise your A band. Then in between that is not being illustrated here, but from here to here is your I band. In between that is the Z line. And then what else do you need to see? So in between this is the H band. And you can see that this is the one that's comprising your M line. So that's just a drawing. Yeah, I will be discussing their facial regarding how this works. So this just shows you the difference between the myosin and the actin. So this is being shown because, so this is one muscle fiber. So would you know what this yellow thing is called? So that's your sarcolemma. So it's actually the plasma membrane of the muscle fiber. So what can you say about the muscle fiber? It is a multinucleated syncytium. So it develops with the fusion of small individual muscle cells or your myoblast. So you see several nucleus. Okay? And then it is surrounded by your sarcolemma. So what else do you need to see here? The sarcoplasmic reticulum. Are you able to appreciate it? So it's a network, repeating series of networks around the myofibrils. Remember, this is your myofibrils. So you have this network, the sarcoplasmic reticulum. So you say that from one, so there's actually, if you can see, it's over the Z. So it's around over the A band, and the other one's over the I band. So you can see the repeating series. And then it's actually connected from one AI to one AI in sarcoplasmic reticulum junction. So the terminal cisternae is regular ring-like channel. So this one here. So it's where two networks meet. So the network here meets with this network. You have the terminal cisternae. So it's a reservoir for your calcium. Maybe a better illustration would be this one. So again, this is your sarcolemma. Remember, this is your Z line. You can see the H band. So this is your A, and then this is Z line again. So you can see here your sarcoplasmic reticulum, and then what is being shown here is your triad of, you have the middle invagination from your sarcolemma, which is your P tubule. Then beside it, it is being sandwiched between two terminal cisternae of the sarcoplasmic reticulum. So this is your sarcoplasmic reticulum, you have the terminal cisternae, then sandwiching the P tubule, so you have this triad. Okay? So remember this for your skeletal muscle. So we're looking at what kind of muscle? Cardiac, because what again? You see the intercalated disc already. Okay. You can also see that they're branching. Unlike the previous skeletal muscle that was just one straight line after another. You can see here they're branching, they're intercalated disc. The nucleus is where? So interlocated. They are still, you can see striations, right? You can still appreciate it. They're not very clear, but you're able to see that there are light and dark bands too for this muscle. So in between, what are these? They're still surrounded by connective tissue. Okay? Another representation. So there's connective tissue there. There's some branching. The cells are, and the nucleus are centrally located. There are intercalated discs. So that's a clue to you already that you're looking at the cardiac muscle. So cross section, you can see the cells are in the middle. And then, why do you think you cannot see any nucleus in the other? The way it was cut, very good. So, because you know that the nucleus is only singular, and compared to the previous one, the skeletal, that they're multinucleated, this one only would have only one nucleus and they will be centrally located. And then you have branching in your cardiac muscle. So when you cut it in a certain way, some fibers you would be able to appreciate the nucleus because it is not in the middle. You may have cut it somewhere where the point of branching. So some would have the nucleus, some would not have them. Then you will see that there are different diameters. For this one, maybe the point where you're cutting the muscle fiber, so you can see that there are differences there. So again, we look at the illustration. You can see the nucleus. You can still see the sarcolemma. So centrally located sarcolemma is still surrounding it. But what do you see as a difference between the cardiac and the skeletal muscle? Yes, you have the diet here. So let's just look at the difference between the two. So from here you can see the T-tubule is still there, so there's an invagination of the sarcolemma, but instead you just have an anastomosis of the adjacent networks. Okay, so you only have the diet of the small terminals. You can appreciate it really. It's just an anastomosis and just a T-tubule. So instead, compared to the triad of the skeletal muscle. So now we're looking at the third type, smooth. So this one is actually a cross section. This is actually showing you the two cuts of the smooth muscle actually in one slide. This would show you that this is the inner circular, outer longitudinal muscles of the small intestines. So you can see from here in your longitudinal, you have the elongated cells with tapering ends. Then the nuclei, actually, they would somewhat already reflect the shape of your fibers. So they're elongated, somewhat tapering ends. Here, so you can see the nucleus. Compared to your in cross section, they are circular in shape. Some of them would have nucleus, some of them would have none. Similar to your cardiac muscle, it depends on where you cut it, because you have a singular single nucleus in one fiber. So it would depend if you're cutting it at the point of the tapering end, you won't find your nucleus there. So some of the fibers that you'll see here do not have the nucleus, and some of them you would be able to appreciate it in the middle. Okay. We'll be showing you that slide again later on in the nervus. So this is a closer view. So the longitudinal and the cross section. So you can see the circular shape, and then some cells would lack the nucleus, some would have them, and if you do have them, notice that they are in the middle. Okay. Compared to your longitudinals, you have elongated cells with tapering ends. Okay. You can see tapering, you can see it here. You can appreciate that the ends are tapering, they're elongated nuclei. Then it depends on where you cut. Some of them you cannot see any. So maybe you're already in the tapering end at this point. You can see any nucleus. So they're lying over each other. Okay, so the contraction, I'm not going to get into this, just know that from this one, this is a contraction model of the smooth muscle. So you will see the contractile filaments are obliquely oriented to the long axis of the cell. So you can see the filaments, this one here. Some of them are in this direction, some of them are in that direction, some are like this, some are like that. So when they do contract, what happens? They would appear like this because they're in several directions. So this will contract going that way, this will contract going that way, this one contract also that way, and then some of them even vertical and some of them horizontal. So when they do work together, contract as one, you would have the contraction of the smooth muscle. And then the nucleus would appear in a corkscrew appearance. So this also just shows you the difference between the myosin of remember, the skeletal muscle, yes, compared to your smooth muscle myosin fibers. So the one in the skeletal, you have the helical parallel and anti-parallel arrangement of the myosin molecules. So global heads from the ends of the filament. And then you have the bare zone. So there are no globular heads in the middle. Compared to your smooth muscle myosin, they're non-helical. They're actually staggered in parallel. So staggered sila. You can see one here, zoom like that. And then you cannot see any bare zone. But at the ends, you have tapering bare ends. So from here to here. Compared to your skeletal muscle where you have the bare zone in the middle. Okay. And also if you can see the myosin heads in one side, they're all in one direction compared to this one side. One is here, one is here. You may have bare ends here. Then they're all oriented that way, and this one that other way. Okay, so just know the difference between the two. So nervous tissue, so you know that we have the central nervous system and then we have the peripheral nervous system. So central, brain, spinal cord. Peripheral, everything else in the, not including your central nervous system. So just know the basic structure of the neuron. So, what you can see. This is your cell body. You have the nucleus, nucleolus, axon hyalop, the axon itself, and then you have the dendrites. So they accept the information, then this will relay the information. Okay, these cell bodies you can see from this drawing also. We'll show you other pictures for this in the actual neuron being demonstrated. But know that here you would already have the myelinated axon, so you have the Schwann cell. Then this is the right here. Okay. So this is going already to the motor end plate to the skeletal muscle. So just know those parts, significance for each part, what's their function, how do they appear, okay, and where are they located. So just know those things. So you already saw the drawing, so now let's identify it in the actual slide. This is the nucleolus. This is the whole thing is the nucleus with the nucleolus. You have the perinuclear cytoplasm. What are these? Oh, there's clue. There's an acronym in the side. So there's the cell bodies. Would you be able to identify the axon and the dendrite? You have a difficulty? Oh, there's a clue actually. There's a D and there's an E. So you know that these are the dendrites and this is your axon. But actually you have a clue that this is already the axon because of the axon hyalop. Because this one would have lack of the organelles. So if you can see, compared to this, you already have the branching, but you have organelles here. Same here also, same here. But if you can see here, you can appreciate that there's a clearing. So you know that this is the axon hyalop, and then this big appendage is going pointing to the axon already, compared to this one, which are actually branching. You can see they're branching. So those are the dendrites. Okay. Then, if you saw your learning objectives for today, for the nervous system, you will have to differentiate the appearance of based on the neuron. So if you have the unipolar, bipolar, pseudo-unipolar, so know the differences in the appearance. So this just shows you an illustration of it. And then know also how the Purkinje cell looks like with all those branching. Then you have the pyramidal cell. Know where they're located, so know that these are motor, these are sensory, and what are integrative neurons. So know those three. Know how to differentiate them, and when you describe it, you're able to identify. Okay? So this one actually shows you several things. This is just an intro to the next few slides. So this one, you can see already. So spinal cord, you have the gray and the white. We will show you later on a better picture. This one is just a representation. So the dorsal root where you receive the sensory. This is the motor, the one the ventral. So don't just so dorsal. You have the posterior root that's more sensory. The one on the ventral. So that's anterior horn also here. So that will relay motor relation. And you can see here the three types. You have the somatic sensory, autonomic and myelinated neurons, and somatic motor neurons. So this one sensory, as I already showed the posterior corpuscle, we'll be showing you that later. You can see, appreciate the lamellar orientation of the myelin. You have the swan cell in the periphery. The axon is in the middle, of course. So same with the motor. You have the myelin, and then the Schwann cell. What else? Then autonomic will show you later. So again, it was being emphasized here. You have the connective tissue. Remember your epimysium, endomysium, and endomysium. So for the neurons, for the nerve fibers, you have the endoneurium around the fascicle, perineurium around the whole epineurium. Okay? So know the difference between the three again. Which covers which. Okay, so this is the cross section of the spinal cord. It's surrounded by connective tissue. So then you can see that there is the gray and the white matter. So this is the spinal cord. Don't interchange it later with the gray and the white matter. Later we'll be discussing. In the middle you have in the middle of this somewhat butterfly shaped and H shape. You have that central canal in the middle. So you have the gray, which is the H shape. It's gray matter. So composed of nerve cell bodies, some nerve fibers, few myelinated nerve fibers, near glial fibers. While the white matter will be composed of nerve fibers, glial cells and fibers, connective tissue strands from the pia mater, since it is connected to the pia and arachnoid lineages. So know what is located. So when we point the gray matter, more or less know what is in it, what composes it. When we point to the white matter, more or less know what is composed in it. Okay? So this is the spinal cord, so know which is the gray and which is the white matter. Don't interchange it. After review of the gray matter, so you'll be able to appreciate. So this was the gray matter, remember? We mentioned that they contain nerve cell bodies. So that's where we're gonna focus. So you have these. Okay, so you have the nerve cell bodies, nucleolus, perinuclear cytoplasm, and cell bodies. You are able to identify? I pointed it out earlier. Nucleolus, this is the whole nucleus with the perinuclear cytoplasm, and cell bodies. You can see the